Path to prosperity? I believe that America's best days can still be ahead, and I want to lead us forward. Join me now in the Reid Revolution.
Hey, good morning. Thursday, and you're watching the Reid Revolution. I'm John Reid. Hope you've gotten out of the house because it's still frozen all over central Virginia, apparently all up and down the East Coast. I mean, the main roads look good to me. And I've driven on 95 and 64 since I got back from my trip, and it seems like that's clear. But, man, even with the sunshine, which normally loosens things up and you can kind of break your way out of the neighborhoods. I went over to see some family members that I haven't seen in at least 2 weeks, and I bought little presents for the kids on my trip, and so they're very excited. When they know whenever Uncle Johnny goes on a trip, he comes back with some little present, nothing expensive, but just something kind of unique from wherever I've gone. So I found some stuff from the islands that I thought they would think were cute. The little boy really likes sweets. I mean, big surprise, right? I do too, and I'm not a little boy, but I got these chocolate alligators in Florida, and made a big deal out of it. Do you want to eat a chocolate alligator? Have you ever seen a chocolate alligator? And, they thought that was cute, and a little doll for the girl that is one of those dolls. I don't know if you ever saw these when you were growing up. They're really very, very traditional. There's nothing fancy about them. They're like Barbie dolls. But they have a long skirt, and when you flip them over, you have a second doll with a different outfit. So I remember seeing those. I think my sister had one when I was a kid, so I thought that might be cute. It didn't cost a lot of money, but the point being, I got out yesterday and drove around. But as soon as I hit these neighborhoods, and these are neighborhoods where I would think the HOA would have people on retainer to go out and plow. Apparently, they just can't get the ice up. The ice is that caked in. And I've never lived in Boston or, Albany or, even Philadelphia. So I don't know, what do they do when they get the 2 or 3 months of the year where it barely ever goes above freezing, even in the daytime, so the sun can't help you some? What do they do to break the caked in ice? I mean, do they have different equipment? I remember I was critical when I was at Channel 8, the ABC station here. We had a really bad storm, and it locked everybody up for about a week. And I said, what the hell? Why don't we have the equipment? And I was checked. It was appropriate. Listen, if I get it wrong, I'm willing to admit it. One of the city council people at the time, when Richmond had a couple of people who were I think this city council person is still on city council, but I won't name names, said, look, we don't have enough storms to justify spending millions and millions of dollars on equipment that sits unused except for once every 2 years or 3 years. We just can't do that. And the upkeep, and that made sense. I mean, you gotta, like, I don't know, Hawaii wouldn't have a snowplow. That's an extreme exaggeration, but you get this kind of reality check that there's, at least if you're a responsible leader, there's not unlimited money to just go out and buy stuff and then put it in the warehouse. And then you have to have people who will run it. And you have to pay insurance for them. And you have to pay them. And so, it's a big, complicated thing. But it's something weird. It's cold. That can't be new. But why are the side streets in so many places? And my friends in North Carolina have told me the same thing. Up in Maryland, they've told me the same thing, that the side streets, they just can't get through, the ice to get to the roads. So, but at least we can move up and down 95. If you've got work to do and the main roads are open, that's pretty good. Anyway, didn't mean to get off on the local weather thing, but I don't think it's local. I think it's spread out across so much of the East Coast, at least, that we can't be the only people who are dealing with it. And my normal gripe that we're so soft that we close all the schools, not just for a day or two in the interest of being safe, but for a whole doggone week, that seems like a lot. But what do? You can't put a bus on this. Let's see. Last night, Did you see people were freaked out in Hanover County? For those of you who are watching who are not in Virginia, first of all, welcome. I'm very thankful that we have so many people watching from around the country. I'm appreciative of that. This Hanover County situation is interesting because it's a very, very large, I'm told it's the largest um, track with a building that the county is trying to get businesses to come to. So their economic development director and that office are working very diligently to get businesses to come to Hanover County and use this site. It's pretty important to the economic future of that county. And that's been thrown into disarray here because ICE wants to purchase this building. And I'm told there's some interesting things about the price point for the building and what their plans are. They want to build a detention facility right here in Central Virginia. So something that might have gotten, if you rewound 3 or 4 months, I don't know. The economics of it would have made the news probably. There would have been a story in one of the business publications in Virginia, but I don't know that it would have gotten the attention it's getting now. I mean, there were apparently 100 people, maybe more. It's hard to tell these days. I don't know who to trust, but a big group of people at one of the supervisors' meetings in Henrico County last night just raising hell about the idea of a detention facility. Okay, you don't want a detention facility in Hanover. Is it because you really don't want the detention facility, or you just try to screw things up because you hate Donald Trump? And I have to say once again, ask people, why are you this upset? What is it that you're defending? Are you defending illegal immigration because you don't think there's anything you don't think immigration should be um, there should be any classification of illegality? I mean, is that what you're saying? Or are you defending criminal illegal aliens, people who have come into the country and have not done it the right way and then have committed another crime and ICE is out there trying to get them? Are you trying to defend them? Is that what you're saying? What is the problem here? If Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, the Libertarians are all over the place on this. That's weird to me. What is it that you're actually defending or you're upset about? Or is it that you see the videos on TV and you just think ICE is going at this too harshly? And then my follow-up question to them would be, well, what are they supposed to do? Retreat? Retreat? I mean, is that the message that we send to everybody all over the country? Is there's a law, and the police or ICE or I don't know, any law enforcement agent who is responsible for that component of the law shows up to enforce that law, and the people who don't want it enforced, maybe it inconveniences them or costs them money or they're being caught doing something wrong, they raise hell about it. And are you really telling me that you think the answer is to retreat? So I don't know. We could think of a whole bunch of different scenarios. You don't pay your taxes for 10 years. And finally, it goes through the courts and they say, hey, we're going to seize this building and we're going to sell this building to pay your taxes or to pay your creditors or something. And you stand on the front step with uh, a machine gun. Are the police supposed to say, well, yeah, we're not going to foreclose on this now. We're not going to. No, he's got a machine gun. We don't want any ugly video on Fox News because that would look like we're being hyper aggressive. And I mean, honestly, is it different for you if it's a white person or a black person or a Latino or an Asian? I mean, do you care about that type of stuff? I don't care. I look at it and I say, whoever you are, you got to obey the law. Whoever you are, you got to obey the law. Means I got to obey the law. I mean, the Democrats are about to jam a bunch of stuff through that I am totally against. And unfortunately, if I stay here in Virginia, which I intend to do, I'm stuck with really, really bad laws. I can raise hell about it. I probably would never. I don't know that there's anything, certainly nothing like this, that's going to send me into the streets where I act like I'm some uneducated person who, is banging pots and pans together in South America to make my point. I try to make my point in a little more reasoned, thoughtful way than a lot of the activists that we're emulating in parts of the world where they don't have the systems that we've got. But what is it that these people are protesting? Because I doubt in Hanover County any of these folks are going to encounter. I mean, how many times do you encounter in your daily life anybody at the local jail, unless you work at the jail? I mean, even if you live somewhere near the local jail, do you encounter anybody? Do you have any interaction that's relevant to what's happening at the jail? That's a legitimate thing to be concerned about. If your kids are out in the backyard and it's just going to weigh on you, like, oh, we're a block away from the jail. What if somebody gets out, or what if somebody's visiting someone at the jail and we got it? That's a legitimate thing for a normal person to be worried about. But see, I don't think that's what's motivating people here. I think it is this reflexive, we hate Republicans, we hate Trump, and now they hate ICE, and they're going to defend the indefensible because they hate ICE. So what gives? I mean, how do we function like this? And I hate to say it, I think they're making a big mistake in Washington by doing anything that concedes ground to the radicals, because it emboldens them and it humiliates your base. It humiliates the people who are standing with you. I mean, look, I don't like to see anybody get hurt. I don't like to see anybody killed. That's why I'm saying, if you've got a problem with a law, like, I'm really mad that they might raise taxes here in Virginia. And, every delivery to my house will have almost a 5% tax on it. The pizza, the Uber Eats, the Amazon package. I don't do a lot of shopping in stores anymore, given my schedule and just the way my life is. Nothing's easy. So I have, like a lot of you probably, have things delivered to the house. Why is Virginia trying to tax me an additional 5% just because it's delivered to my house? What's that all about? Is that affordability? You all ran on affordability. You defeated me and the Republicans based on your claims that you could make things more affordable, but now you're going to implement a 5% tax on everything. And where did that idea even come from? Who dreamed that up? That's the stupidest. That's such a regressive, horrible, meddling tax that everybody is going to hate. Who thought that was a good idea? So I can talk about it on the podcast. If I didn't have the podcast and I didn't work at the radio station or whatever, I could be on social media. I could critique it and be critical of it and say that it's a terrible idea. I could write to the idiots at the General Assembly who all have D's behind their name and tell them how dumb they are for pursuing that. That's legitimate, right? I mean, I'd probably be a little more polite, maybe. But I don't think that I would go into the streets. I certainly wouldn't rush over to the Capitol with the gun on my hip and expect that to be cool. Like, no problem. Show up in Capitol Square with a gun. Even I have a concealed carry, but you're probably going to have a problem if you show up and you inject yourself into a situation. And that's just showing up at Capitol Square, where the Democrats have already banned weapons. Imagine being foolish enough or arrogant enough to show up where the cops are dealing with a conflict already, injecting yourself into that situation and thinking it's all going to work out for you. How dumb and reckless can you be to put yourself in that situation? And what would motivate you to do that in your life? I was thinking about this last night. You can tell I'm a passionate person about a lot of things. I see things as very kind of black and white, right versus wrong. I'm not used to sitting in the back of the room, kind of biting my tongue. I let people know how I feel about stuff. So I'm trying to think, what would be something that would motivate me to say, you know what, if I die today, it's okay. Or I'm going to go get into a fight, a physical confrontation that could result in me being arrested. I've never been arrested, thank God. I try to avoid situations where I might be arrested. Doesn't mean I don't tell people what I think, but I'm not interested in being arrested. What would make me go out there and do something that would get me arrested? What would make me go out and get up in the face of security or police or an elected official where I might be injured or killed? I'm trying to think. I mean, surely if it was going to if somebody in my family was being wronged, not just that I didn't like what was happening, but if they were being wronged, I mean, maybe that would be the situation. Um, I'm trying to think. What would you do? I mean, I just feel like there are other options here that at least as long as we live in a civilized society based on law and not emotion, that you should come up with other options to make your voice heard. And I'm also smart enough to know, as I conceded earlier, what I can do and what I can't do. I mean, there are plenty of decisions that are being made that I don't like, but that doesn't mean I get to substitute. I mean, we lost the election. Our people stayed home. So what am I supposed to do? Tell everybody in Virginia who voted, I think foolishly, for the Democrats, but they won, that, you know what? I don't give a damn about that, and I'm just going to interject myself and try to do everything I can to stop you from making lawful decisions. If I want to live in a law and order society, I have to concede when I lose, and then I have to try again to win and see if I can convince enough people to join my side. I don't go out and attack somebody or interfere with that. And if I don't like it, I can always leave. I mean, I could sell this stuff and pack up and, move on down to Key West and open a bar or something if that's what I want to. And it's not what I want to do. I think it's worth fighting over. It's the in your face thing, the radical mindset that sends somebody into the streets. That's what I don't get. Think about it today. And I haven't referenced this. We've got this chat element. If you're watching this on your computer, you can go to the public chat and respond in real time. Oh, John, you're a genius, or John, you're a fool, if you want to. I don't know. Hopefully, there are more people who think I'm a genius than a fool. But you, what would make you go into the streets? Maybe if they arrested Donald Trump. I mean, if there was a real coup, which I don't think is inconceivable. I mean, I'm worried that if they kill some elected official, that will spark a lot of people to go into the streets. That might be a moment where you're like, oh my God, if I don't say and do something right now, in one instant, the whole cultural arrangement changes and you either take action or maybe you wind up dead or locked up. Maybe that kind of thing would trigger it. What would you do? We don't have the death penalty here, so it's not like you would see someone about to be executed by the state and think, this is wrong. I know that he didn't do it. She didn't do it. We can't execute this person. They're innocent. I mean, maybe that would be a reason. What would send you into the streets? I mean, and honestly, this is why I conclude that the left really is more motivated to win than the right, because they'll go stand in the cold, sub-freezing temperatures in Hanover County to stop a stupid detention facility from being built. And they'll stand there for hours and they'll mobilize an entire army of social media people to amplify their voices. And our guys on the right can't be bothered to show up to a school board meeting when they're trans sickos, masturbating in your daughter's locker room. We just, well, that's really unpleasant, but I'm busy tonight. I can't go to the school board. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's nothing. Forget going into the streets and confronting the cops. Our guys generally won't even show up to the school board meeting or to the supervisor's meeting. I mean, it's almost like we have been conditioned on the right to just think it's all going to work out. Like somebody else will do the work. Somebody else will make the argument for me. Somebody else will run for office and bankrupt themselves and go through the hell of being lied about and abused and targeted and having to wear a bulletproof vest for months on end. That's, someone else will do it, and I'm just going to go on with my life. I can't be bothered. And the people on the left, they take it very personally, it seems. I mean, I do think the media amplifies what they're doing. But there's something weird about this. I mean, maybe it's not weird. Maybe it's just they are more passionate. And in the end, guess who wins? The people who are more passionate, because they win over additional followers generally. And I have to tell you, when you look at the demographics of who's voting Republican and who's voting Democrat in the modern era, a lot of our guys are dying. The older crowd, every year, I don't know what the percentage is. This would be a good question to talk to some of our statisticians, who look at the data from elections. A lot of our guys are dying every year. I used to joke at WRVA that they print a list of everyone who used to listen to WRVA every day, and they go, "Oh, what do you mean? Where do they print the list?" I'm like, "It's the obituaries." And the question for that radio station, which I love, I mean, it's a part of Richmond history, and it paid my bills for 8 solid years, so I'm thankful for them. But, as somebody who's looking at sustenance for the long term, you have to say, are you replacing those listeners with new listeners? Same thing with politics. If your core voter base is 70 years old plus, you've got to figure out how to, no offense to anybody who's older. I'm 55. I'm getting closer to where you are. But we've got to figure out how to replace those voters with people who have those values and will be motivated to be supportive of this political party, or you lose. That's one reason, I guess, Charlie Kirk and Turning Point has gotten so many people so excited. Like, that's the only thing that I can really point to in the last decade that has moved the needle, really, with that younger demographic of voter. And then if you parse that, it looks like that's more men than it is women. So you have to ask yourself, what are we going to do to try to win over women, to get women who, I mean, at least traditionally, you're going to think I'm a sexist for saying this maybe, but am I wrong to say that women used to be perceived, at least, as the protectors of the family and of tradition? It was the men who were the ones who were a little more reckless, whether it was a revolution or whether it was just, a little more aggressive, knocking a bull in the china shop. But it was the women who said, "No, calm down, calm down. We're not supposed to behave this way. We're going to protect the little children. We're going to, we're going to protect the society. Oh my goodness, you cannot wear that. You must wear this because these are the traditions, and we need to be dignified." I mean, I know is that fake? Or am I telling you something that seems fake because it's not true today, but really if we rewound the clock and plopped ourselves back in, I mean, we don't have to go to the turn of the century, just say like 1975, right? I was alive then, 4 years old, 1975. Wouldn't that have been the traditional role? And it's not a demeaning role either. It's a very important cultural role. So what do we do to fix that? Because at the moment, snapshot here in 2026, and I'm so sad about this because it's, should be the year that we're celebrating all of the great successes of America, and I guess we will do that. But things have changed culturally on a lot of different levels, and I'm just wondering, the people who marched for civil rights for African American Black citizens, who followed Dr. Martin Luther King and peacefully assembled, and even when they were hit with bricks and attacked with dogs or water cannon or whatever, refused to respond in kind. That's not who's out there today. I mean, even if, let's say I'm wrong, it's possible. I don't think so, but let's say I'm totally wrong. I have been warped in how I've been raised, and I am not connected to morality, which I don't think is the case. But let's just say I'm totally wrong on immigration, illegal immigration, and the left is correct. We shouldn't have laws regulating regulation. I mean, I think that's insane. I think the whole society will collapse. There's no way to financially support it or culturally support it. But let's just say I'm wrong. Do you think that the people who were in Hanover last night or who are marching in the streets in Minneapolis are even remotely like the people who were standing up for civil rights for black citizens in previous generations, both in what they are advocating for and the way they are advocating for it. So I would answer no. I think they are wrong on the issue. I think it's a very different issue, just like the trans advocates. I advocated for gay rights, gay marriage, gays in the military, because I wanted to normalize and the behavior and say, as long as you act just like everybody else and you deliver just like everybody else, you shouldn't be discriminated against. Now, the trans movement has overtaken what I used to advocate for, and I have to stand against the insanity of the trans movement because there are no parameters anymore. You can lie. I'm a woman. No, you're not. You're not. But no one has the guts, I guess. I mean, I'm one of the few people who's out there saying this is insane. What are we doing? This is no longer normal. You're no longer advocating for normalcy. You're advocating for abnormal behavior. You're mainstreaming abnormal behavior, and you're doing it in kind of a nasty, horrible way that's going to turn people off and make them hate you. If you spent 30 years trying to say you're a normal person and you're behaving appropriately and you should be accepted into mainstream society, what you're doing right now is undoing all of that work and making people who used to be on your side go, oh God, maybe we made a big mistake. These people are crazy. And there are no parameters. That makes me sick to my stomach to think about it in that snapshot. So then you forget the trans thing. You look at the immigration issue and you say, is standing up for illegal migrants, especially those who have committed violent crimes, which is still the main core group of people that ICE is going at, is that the same thing as being bold enough to say this black man and this black woman deserve to be treated the same as this white man and this white woman? I don't think they're the same. I don't think they're the same, and I think we should be honest enough to recognize that. And even if I'm wrong about the issue, the behavior is like, if let's say Martin Luther King came back today, do you think he would look at this, what's happening in the streets today, and approve of it? Even if he agreed with the even if he was against ICE and for some reason he was for unlimited, unchecked, illegal migration, like let's repeal all the laws. I don't know. I don't think he would go that far. I doubt that he would align with me, probably. I don't know. But I don't think he would go that far. Do you think he would look at what's happening in the streets and say, oh, these people are just like my people? No, he couldn't, because they're not nonviolent. They're not just standing up for what they believe in. This is something very different, and everybody needs to pull focus on it. What makes it different, and why it's dangerous for the stability of the society? And if you're a conservative, here's something. A lot of people have said, well, John, you're talking a lot about how bad things are. What can we do about it? Well, if you didn't vote in November, you missed the most important opportunity to do something about it, unfortunately. And now you're stuck for 4 years, 2 years with the legislature that you can't change, and 4 years with the governor that you can't change. And if you got rid of Abigail Spanberger, guess what? You're going to have Ghazala Hashmi, who's even worse, and I think is even more of an America hater and a radical in the governor's office. So, you blew it. If you didn't vote in November, you blew it. For whatever your reason was, that was your number one thing that you could have done to fix things. But let's say you did vote. What do you do now? You can call your legislator. The Democrats don't care what you think, just to be honest. They don't give a damn. But I'd call them anyway and let them know. Let the delegate and the senators know how you feel. But you really should make your voice heard on the local level, because clearly the leftists are willing to do that. And they're doing it in a way that I think is lamentable, but it seems to be very effective with this kind of radicalism, um, and off the charts hysteria and violence that gets them the attention that they want, and quite frankly makes a lot of conservatives and moderates go, oh my God, this is too much, too much. Just give them what they want, shut them up. Here's the problem: you're never going to shut them up. You could pull out. Donald Trump could pull out of Minneapolis, pull out of Hanover County, he could just say, forget it, I'm not doing this. That would be a big political mistake, but he could say that, I just can't take it anymore. They'll move on to the next thing. They're never going to give you a moment's peace because their goal isn't to fix the problem. It's to create so many problems that they win politically and take over the country. And I will argue their goal isn't to take over the country to make it a better place. It's to destroy America. It's because they hate the West. Think about the people you know in the Democrat Party. And I've been thinking about this, whether to say it for a couple of days. It's very controversial. It's not very nice. I know it's not very nice, but I think it is true. Most of the people I know who are Republicans don't think that America is a perfect country, but they're Republicans because they love the country and want to make it a better place. Hear what I said? They love the country and they want to make it a better place. A lot of, I don't know if it's everybody, but a lot of the people I know in my life who are Democrats do not love the country and are hostile to it and want to fix the country. And by fix, I think they want to change it very dramatically. And they look at other countries and say constantly to me, why can't we be more like England and have socialized medicine like England? Or, they look in Central and South America and they tell me they're good things that they want to emulate there. It's not about preserving America. And I've noticed this for decades now, and I've thought maybe that's one of the driving forces behind which party you choose. Clearly, I'm not in total alignment with the Republican Party or the conservatives on everything. Most things, but not everything. But fundamentally, I was raised to love America, and over the course of my life, I've committed to that, and I think it's worthy. I think the country is worthy of that praise, and I think it's certainly worth saving and perfecting, continue to perfect it. Like I'm enthusiastic about this 250th anniversary because I think we've come so far to make ourselves the more perfect union that everybody talked about. So we should celebrate that. But I talk to people who are in the Democrat Party, and again, I don't mean to offend you if you're a friend of mine and you're a Democrat. I appreciate you watching the program. I'm not trying to stick my finger in your eye. But there are a lot of people I know who will fundamentally say, this country stinks. I hate this country. And then I find out that they're Democrats, and I think, well, is that one of the fundamentals to join the modern Democrat Party? Maybe not your grandparents or your parents, but is that one of the fundamentals, is you just really despise the country? And if you start out with that position, it's a no for me. It's like the people who are critical of me on television and radio and this show. If you start out with, like, hate you, John, I didn't vote for you, I think you stink, you're ugly, you're a Nazi, you're a fascist, and you're fat, I'd actually be hurt by the fat comment because that's partially true. The rest of it we know isn't true, but I got to lose some weight. So that stings if you call me fat. But if you start out by telling me how much you hate me, then I'm really not interested in your critique because I don't think you're trying to make me better. I don't think you're trying to make the show better. I don't think you're giving me advice that will put me in a better place. I think you're motivated by the fact that you hate me for whatever reason. I'm gay, I'm a Christian, I'm Republican, or I'm white. I mean, there are a bunch of reasons that apparently people hate me these days. So if that's where you start, I don't really give a damn what you think. And I dismiss almost everything you say about me. And that's probably one of the reasons I got an issue with the modern Democrat Party, is that seems to be where they are. We hate America as it currently exists. And, the people who say America was never great, well, I disagree. And if you start out with that mindset, then forgive me for questioning whether your advice and guidance and your vision for the future is something I want to have anything to do with. I doubt it. I doubt it. All right, we've got a lot of clips that we want to play today and some really interesting guests. Clara Bell Wheeler is with us in just a couple of minutes. We'll talk to her about election integrity in Virginia. And there were some headlines that raised eyebrows recently about the multiple people registering to vote multiple times or attempting to register to vote multiple times in Virginia. I've asked around a little bit about that. And, I'm sorry to tell you, it doesn't seem to be as nefarious as the headlines would lead us to believe. But that didn't mean there isn't a problem. We'll talk to Clara Bell Wheeler about that and some of the things that may be going on behind the scenes to tighten up the election situation in Virginia. And, Democrats have no interest in this, so maybe that we can do something on a national level and hope it trickles down to Virginia. Clara Bell's coming up, and then Ryan Hudson, who's one of the supervisors in Hanover County, who just had to deal with this ICE detention facility last night, will join us. What's the scoop? What's the story behind the story on the ICE detention facility? Is this good for Hanover? I mean, take the politics. Is it good for Hanover, bad for Hanover? And I mean, I can't imagine his life is much fun right now with all these people who are just really vicious and hostile. We'll talk to them. And producer Dan will join us before the end of the program. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back here on the Reid Revolution. Okay, good to take that quick break. Give me a chance to drink some coffee and some water and then reset. Clara Bell Wheeler, who has been with me a number of times over the years when I was at WRVA, rejoins us this morning to talk about the latest on election integrity and some of the issues that she's tracking both in Virginia and across the country. And Clara Bell, I appreciate you coming on. How are things in your world these days? It's been a while since I've talked to you.
Well, as in everybody else in Virginia, we're snowed in, we're iced in, and I thought about wearing a toboggan on my head this morning, but everybody knows we're cold, so get over it. Put on your gloves.
Did you see these stories this past week about double registrations or attempts to register in multiple places? I think I have at least the official explanation for that, but you tell me what you thought of it.
Well, I'd like to hear your official explanation because there is an organization that's easy to remember. The initials are EPEC, EPEC, EPIC. And they've been around for about 5 years. Some really, really, really smart techno wizards, and I mean like super wizard, do number crunching, and they look at the Virginia voter rolls. They buy them because they're a not-for-profit and they can have access to them, and they crunch the numbers, as we say, and they know the names of people and where they are, and they found that there are duplicate registrations in Virginia, and these are people with whom I work. I know their credentials. I know their honesty. Are there hundreds of thousands of them? Probably not. But anytime there is an inaccuracy, as you well know, and probably many of your listeners or viewers, I guess now I should say, because we get to see you and we're really glad. And as much, I just have to sidebar here, as much as I wanted you to be the lieutenant governor, I'm really glad you're back broadcasting.
Oh, well, you're nice.
Because you bring a sense of honesty that a lot of places don't have. And so people listen to you because you give them honest facts and answers.
Well, I'll try to hold on to that, and I appreciate it.
You do.
Thank you.
The problem with registrations in Virginia is that we don't follow, and I think this may be a legal case. I've said this for years. The National Registration Act, NVRNA, says, quote, that states and localities shall maintain accurate and current voter registration lists by whatever means. The current law in Virginia says exactly the same thing. It says that the Department of Elections shall maintain accurate and current by any means possible, any means at their disposal. And this General Assembly is running roughshod. They are bent and determined to create as much chaos and uncertainty in our voter registration and in our voting with the bills they are passing. They don't care if you are a real person or an imaginary person. Get registered to vote, and once you're registered to vote, they are preventing, by the laws that they are passing, any ability to remove somebody if they're not a real person with accurate registration facts. You can register in Virginia with no ID. You can vote in Virginia with no ID. You just walk into a polling place, either 45 days of in-person absentee or an election day, and say, I'm Susie Q. And if Susie Q is registered to vote, you just sign a little piece of paper that says, I attest and affirm that I am Susie Q. You print your name, you write it in cursive, and that's it. Boom. You get a live ballot and you vote. This week in the General Assembly, Delegate Oaks.
May I ask a quick question about that? Does that ballot go immediately into the tally, or is it a provisional?
No, it's an immediate, you put it in the machine, it counts.
Wow. Okay.
And that's been the law in Virginia for several years because the Democrats put it into law, and the then governor signed it.
This
Okay?
was the Ralph Northam reforms, quote unquote. Of
This was the
2020.
COVID,
Yeah.
everybody,
Okay.
Scare, scare, scare. Sorry.
Right.
This week, Delegate Oaks put in a bill. I mean, this is good governance bill that said, okay, you come into the polling place, either 45 days in-person absentee or an election day, and you sign this little white piece of paper that's about that big that says, I attest and affirm that I am Susie Q. And you write Susie Q and you print Susie Q. Delegate Oaks' bill would say you also have to put the year of birth, not the full date of birth, the year of birth, and the last four digits of the Social Security number in order to be able to be given a live ballot, put it in the machine, and it counts. And the Democrats said, oh no, that's too much trouble.
So you
People
don't.
might-
They were suggesting that you have to provide it. Did it require some sort of check at that? We'll use the gun term, an immediate background, instant background check to make sure before you vote that it's real. Because I can
No.
make up 4 numbers and make up
Thank you.
a birth date.
Exactly. Because the poll books in every polling place in Virginia have the year of birth. It's right there. For the officers of election, they look up Clarabelle Wheeler and it's got the year of my birth. It doesn't have the day and the month. And it certainly doesn't have my last four, my social. But that person would then be allowed to vote. Now, all the person has to do is write a name, any name, pick a name that's registered to vote, name in the poll book, which hundreds of people have the list of registered voters. You can buy them from the Commonwealth if you are a not-for-profit and you fulfill the regulations for buying parties, candidates. You had the list of
Okay.
registered voters because you were a candidate
Right.
or you were entitled to buy it. If you put just your name, and so those of us with election integrity would say, I can come in and say I'm anybody. I need to have, and then one of my least favorite senators on P&E has said to me for years in Senate P&E meetings, well, how many people have been prosecuted? And my
Well, that doesn't
response
mean
is
anything.
the response is the same. You can't prosecute an unknown.
Yeah,
If
that's
somebody
right.
comes into the polling place, the law says you can't take a picture of them. You cannot take photographs unless you're the media or you're taking a selfie of your own ballot and your own
Hmm.
self. You
Hmm.
can't just photograph somebody that turns in a photo ID statement of identity. So how are you going to prosecute this person? Chase him out in the parking lot and take a picture of him in the parking lot? I guess
Right.
you could do that. But you can't. And then the person, Clarabelle Wheeler, the real Clarabelle Wheeler, comes in with a real ID, a valid ID, and I have to vote a provisional ballot because somebody's already marked me as voting on the poll book. And then that goes to the electoral board. Some electoral boards actually investigate their provisional ballots. The vast majority just say, sign them off. Or, nope, we're not taking any provisional ballots because some
Hmm.
places do both, neither of which should be
But
legal.
even if you were to be, if they determined, oh, you're the real Clarabelle Wheeler, and this other person, that vote's already in the mix. So
It's
the
there.
best you could hope for might be to cancel out, assuming that it was a nefarious vote, would be to cancel out that vote. Your vote actually would not count towards the candidate or the issue that you cared about. Hmm.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And it
Well, let me tell
also,
you.
wait,
Let me,
one
let me
more
tell you
thing.
the official explanation I heard
Please
about the
do.
the registration issue. Because I called around and said I wanted to be fair. It's one reason we're doing this topic later in the week. So, I mean, I thought about doing it on Monday, like, oh my gosh, everybody will be all spun up. But I thought, that's not responsible. Let me try to get an answer. Here's the explanation I've been given. Virginia is doing a very good job of keeping track of these things, and that's why you are seeing a flag when someone who's 18 years old registers at Godwin High School here in Henrico and maybe votes for the first time their senior year in high school, but then they go off to Virginia Tech and Republican or Democrat, they decide they want to vote in Blacksburg. So they show up and they change or they attempt to change. I guess they can. They can vote Blacksburg day of, and that gets flagged. Uh, but if you characterize it as a double registration, that would not be accurate. I'm told
No,
that.
no, no, because when someone registers,
Hmm.
whether in advance of election day or on election day or in the
Hmm.
45 days, a same day registration, they have to put their full social security number on the green form or white if it's not on election day or not
Okay.
as a same day registration. The registrars then plug into the Virginia Election Registration Information System, VERIS, which houses all the information about elections that we have. They plug in that name, full birth date, address, and full social. And if the VERIS pops back up and says, no, that person that's trying to register to vote in Blacksburg is already registered in Chesapeake. Then the registrar in Blacksburg electronically sends message to Chesapeake, says, I'm transferring Susie from Chesapeake to Blacksburg.
Hmm.
So she's doing a same day registration or she's changing her registration and it's removed from Chesapeake.
Okay.
That's the way it's supposed to happen. But suppose the social security number on the Chesapeake registration is different by one digit in Blacksburg, whether intentionally or by accident.
Hmm. It
Somebody was in
won't
a
get caught.
hurry, it won't get caught. And that person will be registered in two places because they've used two different social security numbers.
So here's the real question, Clarabelle. We could go on and hypothesize about potential problems and ways that people could cheat. And you know what? If we were talking about $100 bills and a bank, people would take it very seriously. But for some reason, when it comes to voting, it's like, not a big deal. I think it's a big deal,
A
especially as someone
huge.
who just blew through all of my savings and put myself through a year of hell to run for office. It matters to me, win or lose. I want to make sure that it's legit. Very personal for me. do we think there's actual cheating here, or are we just hypothesizing about the way someone might cheat if they wanted to?
It, I think it's real. I think it's real. I think it's been real. And I think the laws in Virginia are so lax. And after this General Assembly and the governor signs them, the current governor will sign them all into law, there will be so much chaos and so much inaccuracy that having faith in our election system in Virginia will drop dramatically. That's a very big statement to make. And I'm sure I'll get, hate mail and whatever else. But there are very few things in our lives, as you just pointed out, and you've just been through it, and you have been through a maelstrom of attacks, and you've seen it up close and very personal. And I'm desperately sorry for that. But our election systems need to be pure. If somebody's going to vote, they need to be who they are. We need to have IDs. We need to know that the officer of election checking someone in to vote is marking the correct name. Mistakes happen. It's busy. People, get tired. You hit the wrong button. There are 5 people, maybe not named John Reid or Clarabelle Wheeler, but how many John Smiths do you think there are in Virginia? In the same
I was
locality.
surprised how many John Reeds there are.
Well, there
Apparently,
are. Exactly.
I ruined the lives of some innocent people who just have the same name that I do. And
No, I think you improved their
Maybe.
lives.
They wrote me and said, "Man, I didn't know that people spoke this way." I was like, "Well, send the email to me because they've hit you up." So I mean, they're clearly. I think John Reed's not the most unique name in the world, but I was surprised during the campaign how many people wrote me who have my name spelled the same way too, not Reed, and said, "Oh my God, people think that I'm you. What do I do about it?"
Say thank you.
Yes, right.
But mistakes happen, and innocent mistakes. We want to do whatever we can do with our registration and our voting systems to eliminate or to reduce innocent mistakes. The nefarious, intentional, willful malice of forethought, we definitely should punish. And we should have our laws constructed so that, as we coined in Virginia in 2021, easy to vote, hard to cheat.
Yeah. All right. Well, here's the next question, and I'll bring it back to my election last year, Winsome, John Reed, Jason Miyares. I mean, we just got smoked, and 13. And it wasn't just one race that was tight. 400,000 votes separating us. I mean, I think I did pretty well with the money that I had and everything. I'm pleased by that. But you don't think that there were anywhere near, even if there was cheating, that there was anything near 400,000 votes that were somehow fabricated? I mean, we did get beaten. It's just the reality, right?
Yeah, I think in this most recent election, in your election, or lack thereof, I think a lot of people were disgruntled or lazy, or they just threw up their hands and said, "I don't care. Piddly on it all.
Right.
I'm just going to stay home."
But that's not illegal. That's
not illegal.
Yeah.
That's a personal choice. But when you make the choice to stay home and not vote, you've given all the power, all the authority over your life to other people. And there are millions of people around the world who walk 3 and 4 miles, 3 and 4 days in order to be able to vote, because they know that it's a very precious, precious commodity. And yet people in Virginia in November sat home and did nothing. And as we all know, the great Irish statesman Edmund Burke, said, "All that evil needs to succeed is that good men do nothing." Do
And
you
this is
want
a
to?
pretty low bar just to show up with 45 days of voting and mail-in voting if you couldn't bring yourself to do that. That's the civics lesson, and we're not doing a good job of instilling that obligation. I feel it. Even when I was living overseas, I was like, oh my gosh, there's an election coming up. I got to make sure that I vote because it's really important that I vote. And I arranged to have a ballot. And one time I actually put some meetings back in Virginia so that I could fly back and have my ballot waiting for me, or go to the Henrico courthouse and vote. There have been so many years where I've been traveling around as a business person. I
Yeah.
wasn't here on election day. So that's the civics lesson. And I don't want to run out of time. If you were to say to someone who has real concerns about this, and I do think we're pretty loose with what we're doing here. I think we should tighten it up. And I think, unfortunately, I hate to say it, I think the Democrats like it this way. Maybe Abigail Spanberger herself does not want cheating. I don't know. You remember she ran against Nick Freitas, and Nick Freitas was in the lead, and then they found a thumb drive with a whole bunch of votes on it, and whoop, suddenly Abigail Spanberger won. And I had those people on my show on the radio, and I said, look, I'm not accusing you of cheating. I don't know what happened here, but this is not good. It doesn't look good to find a memory stick with a bunch of ballots on it and expect everybody just to accept, oh, the guy you thought last night was going to be the congressman isn't, and now we've got this Democrat woman as the congressman. And I hate to bring this up, but now she's the governor of Virginia. I mean, again, I'm not accusing anybody of cheating, but we shouldn't have anything in our head that makes us question the validity of the final numbers. I think that's a problem.
That's a huge problem. I will take you even back further to 2008 in the 5th Congressional District in Virginia. The incumbent was Virgil Goode. The man who was running against him, the Democrat, Tom Perriello. Oh,
Right,
wait,
yeah.
think. Tom Perriello is running again.
Running again. That's right.
Running again. But in that election, on Tuesday night, the unofficial numbers were coming in. It was close. It was close. It was maybe even thinking it's going to go into recount. Close, but it was close.
So that's less than 1%, and could be less than 0.5%. And
Exactly.
We've seen that that happened with George Allen and Jim Webb.
Yep.
Remember, that was 0.4%, less than
Absolutely.
0.5% separating them. So
There's
it's
I've done a whole podcast with J. Christian Adams at PILF on how you determine tie votes.
Oh, yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, this isn't close. This is
Right.
dead solid to the wire.
Well, I interrupted you, but
But anyway,
using that example, that was really tight. Okay.
Yeah, that was really tight. And so the next morning, first thing on the morning news, a precinct in Charlottesville, Virginia, in the 5th District, the chief officer comes in from the Consular Precinct and says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I opened the trunk of my car and found over 600 paper ballots." Well, at the time, we were still using the DRE punch screen. We didn't even use paper ballots except in rare instances. What
Where the machine
blazes
went
are
down
you?
or something.
No, he just forgot to turn in. Yeah, if that would be why you would have paper ballots if the machine failed to work. But why would you have 600 in the trunk of your car the next morning? And Perriello won.
Yeah. We just can't continue like this. And if we want a stable society where win or lose, the winner feels confident that they won and they can take the actions that the voters have affirmed that they can do. And if you lost, listen, I'm not happy about it and it hurts my feelings. And I lay in bed at night like, oh, was there anything else I could do? What am I going to, it's upsetting to lose, whether it's school board or whether it's lieutenant governor of Virginia. It's upsetting, but it's reality. But you should feel 100% confident that every ballot was a legitimate ballot and it was counted correctly. Now, in the case of our race, I don't want anybody to misunderstand. I think we just got our butts kicked, and there are a lot of reasons for that. And I don't think there's anything I could have done personally any better than I did in this circumstance. But that doesn't change And I'm not going to be quiet about what I think are the problems with the system that's been in place. And I'm going to call out my opponents in the Democrat Party and say, why do you constantly want to make it easier for someone to cheat?
Cheat.
Not just to vote, easier to vote, but easier to cheat, instead of saying we want everybody to vote one time in one place each election, and they have to be a legitimate eligible voter. If we all started from that place, then I'd feel better about everything, but I don't at the moment.
I agree with you completely. You can register same day. You can walk into a polling place and do a same day registration, vote a provisional ballot with no ID. You just sign that little piece of paper that says, I'm Susie Q. No ID that you're Susie Q. Nothing that we can go
But
back
at least
and
that's
check.
provisional.
That's provisional.
Okay. At least somebody's got to, in theory, check it before it goes into the bucket.
Yeah, but you've got places where
They won't check it.
it's not really being checked.
I see. I see. Clarabelle Wheeler, where can we keep up with you and your work?
Virginia fair elections. And it's just Virginia fair elections. The Democrats are running around scamming legit, yes, breaking news. There are Democrat operatives. Clearly, you look at the people who run these things and you go back and you check their background, and they are Democrat operatives. And they are creating almost the same names and putting out information as if they were the legitimate conservative organizations.
Yeah.
For instance, Virginia fair elections is absolutely against this illegal, invalid attempt to redistrict. The
It's
Caswell
awful.
case, which you've talked. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Thank everything holy for that judge in Caswell. But there is and we've put out information to that effect. There is another Democrat-backed organization that says their name is Virginians for Fair, FOR, fair elections, saying, "Oh yes, we want the redistricting. We support the new." They're spoofing,
Try to
if you
confuse
will.
everybody.
And there's several like that. It's not just Virginia fair elections.
All right. So I'm looking right now. VAFairElections.org is you.
Yes,
VA
it's just
Fair
Virginia. No,
Elections.
it's not VA. It's Virginia written out.
hold on then.
VIRGINIA.
Hmm.
Fair.
Is that you?
That's it.
Okay. So yeah, so the actual law, VAFairElections.org, but you type in. Okay. I just want to make sure I'm giving out the right one. That's the right one.
That's the right one.
All right. Clarabelle Wheeler, listen, I really appreciate talking to you. And at some point when we get to the next stage here, once the General Assembly is out of session, let's make the list of the top 10 things that if Republicans are put in office, we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 10 that will be fair for Republicans and Democrats. Fair for everybody. I'm not trying to rig the system in my favor. Just fair for everybody so that everyone is confident that you get to vote. I mean, I don't know that I can make it super easy where it's you're laying in bed in your underwear watching Netflix and you vote on your phone. I don't know that that doesn't seem very secure to me, and I'm not willing to go that far. But we've got to come up with a system where everyone feels confident that this is fair and accurate. And right now, I have to tell you, I don't feel good about that. But
I don't feel good about it. And electronic voting is not
the way to go. Oh, heck no. Because it's not going to be like the bank that has an app on your phone where everything is verified. Plus, even the app on the phone, I'm terrified that my phone gets stolen and somebody drains my bank account, and then I'm really screwed. So,
exactly.
Clarabelle Wheeler, thank you. I hope I'll see you in person again soon.
I hope so, and thank you for being back on the airwaves.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I'm excited about it. Okay. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, Ryan Hudson, who's on the Board of Supervisors in Hanover. Why should you care about Hanover County if you live in another part of the country? Because this is where ICE is going to open a regional detention center. And boy, every radical out there is freaking out about it. I mean, as if they really care about this. I don't know. We'll talk to Ryan and hear what he's been hearing and find out what happened in their Board of Supervisors meeting last night. When we return on the Reid Revolution. Well, I guess, welcome back to the Reid Revolution. I'm John Reid, by the way. I guess everybody's seeing this video of the gentleman. I'll try to be very dignified about this. The relatively young 37-year-old NICU nurse who died last week when he engaged with these ICE officers and was shot. I mean, I'm not cheering that on. I think it's terrible. I'm not happy about it. I don't like seeing things like that. I want to live in a civilized society where even if you disagree with me, you go home safely at the end of the evening and raise your family and you're happy. And we can have a big disagreement, but nobody's going to be hurt over this. Now, part of that is incumbent upon you not to go and get in the middle of a fist fight with police or immigration officials. I mean, you got to have a little bit of self-preservation instinct here, unless you think you are, you're going to be the hero in the story here and you're willing to sacrifice your life over something. I mean, I just don't get the idea that you're going to sacrifice your life over defending criminal illegal aliens. To you, I just don't get it. Why would you be so spun up about aggressively going after rapists and murderers and armed robbers and carjackers and people who are a part of foreign national gangs who are pushing drugs, human trafficking, child sex trafficking? I mean, I don't want to be on their side. In fact, I want to aggressively stomp those people because they're horrible criminals. And I don't want anybody to misunderstand. I don't want to have anything to do with those people. I'd like to get rid of them in our society. Not kill them, but get them out of our country. Why would you do anything that would make your neighbor think, oh, well, are you on the side of the criminals? And think about it. The Democrats, for months now, it doesn't matter how bad you are. If you're an illegal, they will come and hold your hand and have coffee with you and commiserate with you, right? So I just don't get it. You have a few standards here. Okay, the 5-year-old little boy, you can make up a lie about him being abandoned. I mean, that wasn't true. It wasn't true that he was taken by ICE. It sounds like, and I think this has been verified now, that he was abandoned by his father who ran off and left him there. That stinks. That's a horrible situation. But you want to look at that story and get all spun up. Okay, cool. Your compassion is for children. I understand that. But why all this interest in protecting and preserving the rights of criminal illegal aliens? Why do I have to fight you over that? Why aren't you on board with the idea of moving those people out of the country? That's weird to me. Unless you really do want to do harm to the country. It's very odd, I think. So there's this video that's out, and producer Dan and I don't know, was it midnight? Producer Dan and I were texting each other, and this video came out of the nurse who was killed, and it shows him several days earlier getting into a tussle with ICE officials, kicking their car, smashing their rear taillights, spitting on the vehicle. I don't know if he spat on them, but I mean, the F word. I mean, everybody's trying to act like this is some sort of benevolent, nurse who just cares and is so loving and, heals people. This video reveals a very different side of this guy. And if this is what I encountered as a police officer, we'd have a problem too. I would try not to kill him, but we're not putting up with this behavior in the street. I mean, this is not peaceful protest. This is an attack on law enforcement. And if you do that, you should expect something bad to happen. You got to make the calculation. I can't do it for you. Are you going to wind up dead? Maybe. Most of the time when I reach a conclusion like I might wind up dead, maybe, I back away from it. Like, even bungee jumping. Does it look like this is safe? I might wind up dead. Well, maybe I'm not going to bungee jump, right? I've done it once. That's it. Did it, checked. I survived it. And that's frivolous. This is serious. So I want to just say, before we get to our next guest, I saw that video, and I appreciate everyone who has watched me on television, listened to me on the radio. Maybe you disagree with everything that I say, but at least you think I'm fair. That's my goal. You may hate or disagree with everything that comes out of my mouth, but I do want you to think that at least I'll look at issues from every different angle and that I will be fair, even if we reach a different conclusion from each other. And so last night when producer Dan and I were texting this video back and forth, I said, are we sure this is real? Now we got to worry about that, right? Yesterday we played the Somali waltz, which I thought was funny and amusing. But remember, I opined about, wow, this thing looks real. Everybody in it. Tim Walz looks real. Ilhan Omar looks real. The cops look real. Barack Obama looks real. It's not. It's all AI. But it looks like a real video shot on a set. And, if you didn't know better, if you weren't plugged in, you would think this was all real people, and it's all computer generated. So looking at this last night, I told producer Dan, I was like, I want to be careful. But hey, by the way, producer Dan, do you have the video queued up? I don't know. We talked about that before we went on the air. Do you have that video queued up?
I don't have this one because of the fact that we could not authenticate it quite yet.
Now everybody's playing it.
Oh, really? Okay. So now,
all the networks played it this morning, and and if I'm reading this right, they don't seem to be as maybe they have verified it. They're 100% sure it's true. Producer Dan and I have worked with each other for a long time.
Yeah.
And he knows I'm disinclined. I'm not worried about being the first person to show you something. I want to make sure that what I show you is real. And it's fine with me if I'm the 100th person to talk about it. I want to make sure that it's true. Because and now I've seen personally what happens when people lie and make things up, and you just run with that. So it appears that this video is true, and maybe before the end of the show we can show.
Yeah, I'll during our forthcoming interview here, I'll take care.
But I'm looking at the video, producer Dan, and you heard me at midnight texting you saying, oh, gosh, I'm looking at the end of the video. It looks glitchy to me. It looks like maybe this is AI. I mean, now you have to second guess everything that you see. You can't take anything at face value anymore. I don't know how we're going to function like this. I don't know how a civilized society where you have to be able to trust what you're looking at is real.
Yeah. And we were just talking about this at length yesterday. So yeah.
Yeah, it's rough. All right, so anyway, sorry to do that to you. If you can get the video, we'll show it at the end.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I'll try to work on that.
That video's out there. I think it's crazy that all these Democrats are so spun up that they're going to defend criminal illegal aliens. I think it's also crazy to defend illegal aliens. I mean, if you really give a damn about these people, go hire a lawyer and pay for the lawyer. Here, take 50 grand and say for the next 3 months, this lawyer is going to meet with everybody who needs help with their immigration case and get it into, court. If you really are that passionate about it, why are you jerks not raising money to do this the right way? If the person at your church or the person who works on your house or the person, whoever it is, I don't know. If this person needs help, then why don't you actually help them? What are you doing in the streets screaming and yelling like this isn't legal or legitimate? It is legal. It is legitimate. These are not new laws. Donald Trump didn't create this stuff. He didn't create ICE. He recognized that we've got a problem, I think a very deliberate problem caused by Democrats, and he is attempting to solve it. And it isn't nice. It's ugly. We all knew it would be ugly. And no one seems to want to obey the law, so, we got a problem. This is why you got to obey the law from the beginning. This is why you don't allow squatters on other people's land, because when eventually the person shows up and says, oh, this is my land, you got to go. If they've been there for 2 or 3 years, it's going to be a mess. There's no nice way to fix it. And if somebody has come to America illegally, there's no nice way to fix it. So now we're stuck. We got to build these facilities because we really do have millions of people who are here who have no right to be here. And we have to be able to process them. And unfortunately, people like the mayors of these Democrat cities, I'm embarrassed that this is Richmond, my hometown, they won't cooperate. So now you can't use the facilities, you can't use the resources available to those localities. Now ICE has to go and replicate everything so that they can have some sort of semblance of order as they process people out of the country. And they have identified this location in Hanover County, apparently a huge building, really important building for the future of Hanover County economic development-wise, and they want to have a ICE detention center there. So Ryan Hudson is the supervisor from Mechanicsville in Hanover. And Ryan, I appreciate you hanging on and waiting for us. You all had a meeting last night about this, and from what I saw on social media, it looked like that you did have a big crowd of protesters. What happened? And I appreciate you coming on.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. So yes, we had our regularly scheduled Board of Supervisors meeting. This was not on our agenda for conducting county business. We did have a closed session to meet with the county attorney, our sheriff, David Hines, our undersheriff, Greg Six, and the superintendent of the Pamunkey Regional Jail as well, to kind of understand exactly what's going on. And I think a lot of people don't understand. We work really hard in Hanover to look at projects that come under our authority for land use objectively. So as we always do, we work really hard to remove politics from this. The Department of Homeland Security has given us no more information than we've shared with the public. So we decided after many hours of deliberation and staff working and just in our session to release the statement that we did last evening. This building is empty. It sits empty, and it is the 19th highest grossing taxpayer in Hanover County. It's empty.
Even empty. What? Property
empty,
tax?
Correct. Property taxes. Okay. It is the second largest.
What's it worth?
We assess it at $50 million.
50?
$50 million. Okay. Yes, sir. So it pays a lot of taxes. Now, it's our understanding, which, by the way, I say it's our understanding. No one has shown us a document says that they're under contract for $90 million, but that's our understanding that they're under contract.
Oh, wait a minute. So the federal government is going to buy a $50 million building for $90 million? Hypothetically?
Hypothetically, yes, sir. So we need to.
Is that normal? That doesn't seem right to me. That's a pretty. That's a big.
Well, a lot of the things that the federal government does don't seem normal to you and I, but.
All right. Well, make a note about that. I might have to beat some people up about that if you're.
I did go kind of to myself. Well, there goes Doge, doesn't it? $90 million.
No kidding.
Yes. So.
But that's just a rumor. That's not. We haven't.
Yes, we have no document that says that.
All right. Well, let me make a note to ask some questions about that. That's crazy.
Sure. So.
Okay.
This is one of the nicest economic development corridors that we have in Hanover County. And so pulling this building off the tax rolls is going to give us a budget deficit of around $1 million. So it could be the Department of Agriculture going in there and they're, studying regerminating sunflowers or something, but just pulling it off of our tax rolls. Okay.
And that's because it's the feds, so they don't pay you.
Or the state. Yeah,
the feds or the state don't pay you.
I represent one district in Hanover, and obviously the greater shared constituency of all the citizens of Hanover County. And so when you serve in local office, perhaps, if we were in a locality, we don't have any jobs or anything like that, they do put prisons out across the Commonwealth, and literally everybody in the town works for the prison,
and they see it as, instead of being mad that there's a prison, they're thrilled that there's a job within 20 minutes of drive from their house where it's good. Okay, I got you.
That's right. So we don't go out and ask the state and federal government to, come and build massive structures that pay no taxes. Certainly, you hope their employees go to our restaurants and shop and things like that for sales tax purposes. But we have the huge ABC warehouse that was built before I was on the board, as well as we have the new medical examiner's office and forensic lab that's going to be in Hanover. So those are two examples where that they don't contribute to your
tax base. Gotcha.
And one reason,
well, that's important. Even if you're 100% supportive of President Trump's ICE efforts, and you don't have a problem with the ICE officers or anything to do with immigration enforcement, you've got to be worried as a local official about those bottom line numbers. And if this goes off the tax rolls, I think that's a legitimate concern for you to have.
That's correct. And so, you can support the mission, but again, I don't represent the Department of Homeland Security, so I'm going to look after my community as a board member, and so we estimate that in addition to it coming off the tax rolls, the burden that it would place on our emergency services for all the ancillary things that would be going on around it, that deserve a appropriate response, whether that be fire EMS or the Hanover Sheriff's Department. And the men and women of our emergency services did an outstanding job last night, keeping everyone safe in a respectful manner. I would stack our Sheriff's Department against anyone out there. They are well trained, and they are just top notch. But just for one meeting, we had around 20 people that were on overtime. That's just one meeting. And again,
what's that calculate out to you then?
Correct. Yes.
Financially,
tens of thousands of dollars. Ultimately, when it's all said and done, not just the resources that have been spent behind the scenes, where that as a local government, we've not been able to respond to the daily needs. I actually got a email yesterday from a constituent asking about his real estate tax assessment, and he left his number, and I called him up, and in my mind, I'm going, man, I'm so glad that I get to talk about something that I can actually speak to. So we just feel that.
So this thing could be a huge drain.
Absolutely.
Not just taking that off the tax rolls, but then your support obligations.
Correct.
And you've got nothing. Like, sometimes the federal government says, we got it. We're going to handle our own security. We're going to handle infrastructure changes. That doesn't fall to you. We're going to build all that out.
So, I can
that's
tell
not
you
what you've heard.
Another concern is, and I'm sure that you are kind of aware of this, but it's not something that I had thought of. But our superintendent of our regional jail here, one of the concerns is that ICE does not typically manage their facilities, so they hire third-party contractors. Well, are they going to peel off some of our regional jail staff because their standards typically are lower and they pay more?
And they pay more.
And even cooking staff, because this facility, that's by the way, one of our questions was, what does a ICE processing center do? What does it look like? Right? They want to put a fence up. There's something called the supremacy clause here in play. The federal government,
they can do what they want.
They could do what they want. As a matter of fact, there are levers or provisions that they could take that building that could be enacted. We don't think about these things, but if there are emergency acts that can allow the federal government to do all kinds of things that we don't think about. And as a local supervisor, I can tell you 3 weeks ago, this was not on my bingo card, man.
Yeah.
I want to get back to focusing on, clearing ditches and getting potholes filled and expanding our tax base. So it has been a tremendous distraction. And again, you can support the mission, but for us as local representatives, this spot will be economically disastrous for the businesses in that corridor. This is one of the few kind of pad ready, we don't use that word a lot in Hanover, pad ready areas that are ripe and continue to blossom for economic development. And you're going to have a warehouse with concertina wire and a tall fence around it. And that can just potentially be a drain.
Oh yeah, some CEO who hires a VP for property acquisition is going to visit you. They're going to visit Charlotte, North Carolina. They're going to visit someplace in South Carolina, and they're going to visit your site, which checks all the boxes for them. And they're going to see that building across the street and say, "Oh, to hell with this. We're not coming anywhere near this."
Some have already done that. They have
already.
They have pulled their projects.
It's scared people off already.
Yes.
All right. Well, Ryan, this is why it's so important for us to talk about this, because I do think we fall into tribal camps and say, well, if Democrat whack jobs are in the streets, then I've got to support, the alternative plan. But you need to think, how does this really impact the locality? That is your job as a supervisor. And I appreciate you being concerned about it. And I think a lot of people wouldn't be concerned about it, especially Democrats, because they don't worry about the bottom line. They always just assume that somebody's going to come up with money to cover whatever baloney idea they have.
We've received
You've
a
got
lot
to be
of
responsible.
emails. We've received a lot of emails saying thank you, and I kind of almost want to be like, thank you for what? Because we didn't take a vote. We don't have. There's no.
And you can't control it. That's important.
That's correct. Ultimately, that's correct. So
you just issued a sense of the board statement that this is not good.
They asked us for the in the letter. They asked us for a response, and our response, in a nutshell, is just simply that this is not the right place for this type of project, and that the economic impact that it would have on our budget, we have a hard enough time in Hanover competing regionally as it is, because we're too small to compete like with a Chesterfield or Henrico, but we're large enough that we can be a part of the conversation. Okay, and so we have to work really hard to focus on the quality of our schools and the overall quality of life that we enjoy here in Hanover, and leverage that as much as we can.
Right.
And to our community, this project in this location just does not fit. And so,
but let me ask you this, and you can dodge this question if you want. If you were a betting man, what do you think happens in 90 days?
Not trying to dodge it. I don't know, because I don't have any precedent to go off of. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What I will say is that the lack of communication contributes to my inability to know or to have a sense. Does that make sense? Because
sure. Well, I mean,
ICE is really not
had an insider
like this for very long.
They would just tell you, "Hey, dude, sorry that this is going to stink for you, but we're coming. So figure it out." I mean,
yeah, there is something.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're right, and there is something that's referred to as PILT, which is payments in lieu of taxes. So folks have said, well, is there some sort of reimbursement from the federal government? We don't know. If they came, is there some sort of reimbursement for us as a locality? And even at that, all that has to be verified, that the direct impact to the locality and all that sort of thing. But again, there's no precedent for that. It's not like they're bringing the Olympics to Hanover and we're gonna get a.
Well, let me just tell you, as somebody who loves the Olympics, I would also say that will destroy your economy. Poor Los Angeles. They got their hands full, and then what is it? Torino with the ones that start in 2 weeks. But anyway, in the back of my mind, as somebody who has not struck it rich yet, I think, man, could I find a couple of rich friends and I cobble together enough pennies where we go buy some property. If you can have a $50 million building that the feds are going to buy for $90 million, that's a pretty nice payoff. Holy cow.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the federal
Who
government
owns this
and Walt
building?
Disney
Do we know?
do I know who owns the building?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's a gentleman out of Vancouver, Canada.
What? It's not even a Hanover person?
No, sir. It was sold during construction. We understand, and
well, I bet you somebody in Canada who's pretty happy.
Yeah. Now, John, let me point out something to you that's interesting.
Okay.
The state and federal government, they can lease property. Okay. In which case, if they lease it, then the property owner is subject to local tax.
Okay.
So they have thought this through for whatever reason, and in their infinite wisdom to
buy it instead of
buy
lease
it rather than lease it.
Yeah.
But
so
again,
here, I just want to give you a chance to respond to this. I think I could probably respond to it because in the chat room here on the show, somebody says, so money is more important than law and order. Got it. If you've listened to the last 5 minutes, I would think that you would understand the practical realities of this for you as somebody who's got to make budget in Hanover. But let me just give you 30 seconds to respond to that.
Correct. I mean, I think that, we work really hard at the local level to balance things out, right? And at the same time, how can I have you as my constituent tell me that you want your property tax assessment rate dropped? We're currently at 81 cents, the lowest in the region, and you want it dropped, but then you want me to take to give a blessing, if you will. I don't get a say one way or the other. Ultimately, we're a very litigious society. I'm sure there are some that say sue, and all that sort of thing. But
you're going to lose that against the Fed.
Yeah, you're going to lose that. There's tons of precedent, and again, I go back to the supremacy clause for the federal government. That is going to wreak economic havoc on our community.
Yeah. Well, that's a real issue that you as a supervisor have to deal with, and that's one reason when I was thinking, who do we talk to? We can have the philosophical debate about ICE, and I'm pretty strong that I think ICE is doing something that is unpleasant that has to be done because we've been total wimps for 30 years and we've allowed something to get completely out of hand, and now the consequences of it are in our face, and it's ugly, and it should be a warning that we don't ever do this again because it's hurtful to a lot of people, some innocent, and some not innocent. But you've got a different obligation to the people in your district and to the people in Hanover.
Have asked me my personal opinion, and I've not wanted to give it because it doesn't matter. For this case, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
So as I can tell you that my colleagues and myself over the last couple of weeks have, if I look tired, it's because I am. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of emails, phone calls, all hours of the night, in the morning. And
are you being threatened?
I have not been threatened. No.
Thank God for that.
I've been cursed. I've been cussed out. And if you're from Hanover, you call me, and you want to cuss me out, okay. But folks call from elsewhere and they want to be nasty. No, click.
Really? What, people from other parts of the country?
Oh my gosh, Oregon, Wyoming,
I hope you just hang up on them. They're not constituents. Why the hell would you
Yes,
care what
I
they
mean,
think?
you end up
Let
correct.
them call Christy Nome's office, but
Of
don't
course,
call the
also
supervisor in
a lot
Hanover.
of time it catches them off guard when I answer too. That they're not
They
expecting.
just want to leave a nasty voicemail, and they feel
You
like
got
they've been a social
it.
justice
So
warrior.
yeah, or if I engage them, then that knocks them off kilter. And you kind of like say, well, you called me, and you obviously wanted a response, and so I'm going
Now
to
you're going to
provide
get
you.
it.
Yeah, and you're going to get one.
What an unenviable situation for you to be in. And I got to run, Ryan, but I
Yes, sir.
appreciate this insight into another angle of this that a lot of people who are understandably tribal about it wouldn't necessarily think about. There's some real consequences. But you know what? This is the problem with all of these issues. There are real consequences for real people in a lot of the decisions that are being made. That's why it's important who you send to the state capitol to adjudicate these issues. They need to have enough experience not to make stupid emotional reactions.
You got
Who
it.
you send to the Board of Supervisors, somebody who's run a business perhaps and understands what a spreadsheet looks like. Even if somebody's been in financial trouble, they know what that looks like, and so they can help you fix it. What I'm worried about is that one side of our society, you don't have to respond to this, I don't want to put you on the spot, but one side of our society, primarily the Democrats, send social justice warriors who've never, ever dealt with the realities of life and business to make important decisions that impact life for everybody and the ability of the society to stay afloat economically, and it's killing us. And we're going to suffer because of it if they make the wrong decision. And this segment, it may be a little granular for what people are used to, and certainly there's no other show that I'm aware of that would spend 20 minutes talking about this. This is important for people to understand. This is a decision that is getting national attention, but I'm sure there are 50 different things on your agenda that are similar to this. You need somebody who's discerning and has got a clue and not just making emotional, vomitous reactions here.
Correct. Yeah, you can't. And to the gentleman that spoke about law and order, in Hanover County, we're very proud of our law and order. And
of course you are. Listen, Antifa isn't showing up in Hanover. Were they well behaved yesterday, the protesters in Hanover?
Yes, everyone was, truly.
Yeah, see, they know better. They weren't going to set the courthouse on fire or pelt you with a balloon filled with feces, because that would have been
I think I give all the credit to our county administrative staff and to our sheriff's department. They set the tone. They look professional. They act professional. They treat everyone with respect.
Well, that's what I would expect from Hanover.
Even when they show up, they didn't show up in riot gear. They showed up in their good uniforms, and they looked sharp and professional, and they're directing traffic and making sure that everyone's safe and everyone had the right to speak their mind, because at the local level, I'm your neighbor. I'm gonna see you in Kroger.
Right, yeah.
You can't go in anywhere else like you can at your local courthouse, your local administrative building, and have the access to the representatives like you can at the local level. And
it goes back to Thomas Jefferson and George Allen used to repeat that the government that governs best, hypothetically at least, is the government closest to the people. Thank you very much. All right. Well, listen, Ryan, I got to go. I appreciate the chance to talk to you. Hang in there, man.
You too.
Okay.
Take care. Bye.
All right. That was a long interview, and some of you may not really be interested, but you got to be interested. You got to pay attention to that. And if you've ever wondered what it's like to be a local elected official, it's stuff like this. Sometimes it never makes the headlines, but you're dealing with, should we approve this? Should we not approve this? My friend wants this, or all that, this church wants this. But if I do this, if I vote for this, it blows the budget. And especially if you're not a big city and you don't have a lot of other resources that you can pull from. One decision, not a little decision, one decision like this can really have a negative impact on the budget. And then in all fairness to somebody like Danny Avula, the mayor of Richmond, or, I try to be fair with people, even like that idiot, that's not nice of me to say, but the idiot who's the mayor of Chicago. Being the mayor of a major metropolitan area is difficult. That's why you shouldn't elect a communist who's never done anything in his entire life to run a city like New York, because inevitably they're going to make bad decisions. They do not have the experience to make good decisions. And you should be very cautious about sending an ideologue to be the leader, because they won't understand the nuance. Everything is black and white to them, and they're not willing to spend even 20 minutes to contemplate the ins and outs of this. We take good government for granted, and I've certainly lived in places where it wasn't good government. It was all corruption, and projects languished for years and never got done. And, the best you could do is hope that you could put a fence up around your house and make your house representative of the life you wanted to live, because the rest of the society was going to hell. And I'm really worried that that's where we're headed here. The rich people, they'll always have a compound. They'll always have some sort of buzzer at the gate to keep the mobs out. It's the rest of us who aren't rich who will walk around and go, oh, my God, this used to be such an amazing place, and now it looks like hell. How did that happen? Well, because you turned it over to idiots to run. Ideologues, communists, socialists, people who don't know how to do anything and are doubling and tripling down on the worst ideas in the history of mankind. And it doesn't take long for things to go badly, and it'll reveal itself. I feel like that's kind of what we're seeing in Richmond. Most of the people who are watching the show probably haven't visited Richmond, but anyway, it's a tough spot to be in. That's why you got to be discerning about who you send to make these decisions. All right, I'm running long. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. Producer Dan will join me. We'll go through some of the other things we had planned for the program today before we hit the 2-hour mark. Stay with us. Okay, we are back. It looks like President Trump is having a cabinet meeting. Can you believe this guy? I don't know. I mean, I admire the fact that he just never stops working. Even if you hate him or you hate his policies, come on, you got to concede that he's doing stuff every day in a very transparent, open way. Right, Dan? I mean, think about when we were at WRVA and it was just Biden didn't ever do anything. It was press releases.
A lot of hiding from Biden. Yeah, right. And he'd have the prepared notes, and he'd finish whatever he had to say, and he'd just be like,
he didn't even know what he was saying.
Asking him questions as he ran off. Yeah, it's like,
and bumped into the wall. And yeah. I mean, I don't want to be rude to an old man. I've never liked him, even when he was a young man. So whatever. But you look at Trump, who is also an old man. He's having a cabinet meeting. And, these Democrats, and I have to say this about Mark Warner and Tim Kaine, our two Democrat senators. Are you guys going to vote to shut down the government again on Saturday? Is that really what you're going to do? You're going to vote to shut down after 46 days of a shutdown, which I continue to assert you did deliberately to try to win an election and make sure that everybody in Northern Virginia turned out to vote Democrat. I don't think you cared one bit. What have you guys done about health care since the shutdown? Nothing. So it really wasn't about making sure that Americans were taken care of with health care. You didn't do a damn thing about it. And now you're going to have another shutdown because you are going to seize upon what you see as a vulnerability for Trump. I think at some point, maybe I'm wrong, but I think at some point the public's going to say, get your stuff together and stop threatening us. with the government shutdown. And my goal, and I think you'd probably agree with this, Dan, is to create a society where the government has so little impact on my life that no matter what these idiots do in Richmond or in Washington, I am unaffected by it. I would like to shrink the impact of the government so that it doesn't screw me over.
My dream, I guess, would be that we live in a world where we are more familiar with the names of business CEOs than the president of the United States. And you're like, wait, who's the president again? What's his name? Wait, who's Bob? Don something? Like that's how little an impact it has on our daily lives. That's really the ideal kind of government as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So
well, that's a recalibration that would be quick.
Oh yeah. All
right. Did you find the video of
I did.
As his name is Alex Preddy, right?
Alex Preddy.
Nurse.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And everybody says he's a nurse. Okay, so your day job as a nurse, I don't think this is a guy who was suddenly moved at the hospital to say, I must stand up for what's right. This guy seems like, and I don't think I'm being unfair here, I think he is a radical agitator who happens to have been a nurse. And so that makes for a perfect narrative because everyone assumes that nurses are nice. And you know what? That nurse here in Richmond at VCU Medical Center who threatened or was opining on TikTok about ways to harm immigration officials. She's not nice. They fired her, right?
They did.
And they got to pull her license. She cannot work again. I mean, you have to, even if you are a scuzzbag, even if you're a deviant, trash person, you should discipline yourself enough not to threaten to kill people and hurt people, right? At least not in public. I don't know what you tell your kids or your husband or wife or your best friends when you're smoking up in the back room or sticking a needle in your arm, or you're at the local commie meeting, but you probably shouldn't. You probably shouldn't be opining about how to hurt people. Of course, who am I to say that? We just elected an attorney general who opined. That wasn't public. That was a private text message. But all right, you want to play the Preddy tape?
Yeah, let's go for it.
January 13th in Minneapolis, showing a man who appears to be Alex Preddy interacting with federal immigration agents 11 days before Border Patrol shot and killed him. Our footage was analyzed by the BBC, whose facial recognition technology confirmed his identity to a 97% degree of accuracy.
All right. When we saw this last night, look, I wouldn't call that interacting with the cops. I mean, if you're screaming the F word, spitting on the car, at least it wasn't on the people, right? I guess.
Here the boxers go, interacting with each other tonight, John. Yeah.
Yes, interacting.
Oh, he just interacted with them with the left.
He interacted and killed them. You're interacting with your spouse, and they wind up dead. What a horrible interaction that was.
That's right.
And then he smashes the tail light of the car, and you just can't do that. We look. I don't care whether you're a Republican or Democrat. If you hate Abigail Spanberger, okay, fine, you hate Abigail Spanberger. You may not go. If Abigail Spanberger's out here in Short Pump giving a speech or shopping or something, and she's the governor, and you're furious at the stupid thing she's doing, I'm sorry, you may not attack her car, and you may not spit on the governor. I guess if you're a real rude person, you could go up and scream at her in front of her kids. I don't like that kind of stuff. I think that's trash behavior too. But you can't attack people, especially not law enforcement. You're a fool if you go out and do that. Am I supposed to have sympathy for you if you wound up hurt or dead, if you're physically attacking the cops and you won't back off? How much empathy am I supposed to have for you? Even if you think you're 100% right, you're a fool. And then have we, hold on, let's just look real quick and see. Has this video been 100% verified? I'm going to look. Preddy video verified. Let's just see. Because last night, you want to play it again real quick? look at
Sure.
the end of it. This was the part that made me think, is this AI? I don't know. I mean, it looks glitchy
January
maybe at the
13th in
end.
Minneapolis, showing a man who appears to be Alex Preddy interacting with federal immigration agents 11 days before Border Patrol shot and killed him. Our footage was analyzed by the BBC, whose facial recognition technology confirmed his identity to a 97%
part?
degree of accuracy.
That part looked a little glitchy to me. So I didn't want to start the program or put anything really on Facebook last night or on Twitter or whatever, X, because I just didn't know whether we were being conned with AI. I can't tell. I can't tell. So let's see. Here's the Hill. They keep couching it as saying it appears to show Alex Preddy. So an alleged Preddy hurling expletives. The other thing that made me question it, Dan, and I can't believe we're going to have to question everything we see from here on out, is it looks like he's wearing the same clothes in this video as the clothes he was wearing when he was killed.
Days later.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't live a protester lifestyle, so would you wear the same clothes? I mean, I guess I'm wearing the same jacket I wore yesterday. So
You see me 3 days later, you're bound to see me wearing whatever I was wearing 3 days before. I'll tell you that. Not exactly a extensive wardrobe these days. I'm not going to compete with Imelda Marcos for for much dynamism with my attire. But yeah, so
I don't know. Well, I think it is a real video, and if that is true, if this video is true, and again, I want to be fair, if it's true, then this guy isn't just some little nice nurse who felt very passionately about protecting the illegal immigrant rapists and murderers, as one does, right? He's a radical whack job who's in the streets for whatever reason, thinking he can get away with attacking federal law enforcement. And people say FAFO. Remember when I didn't know what FAFO was? Well, now I know what FAFO means. Screw around and find out, except it's not the word.
Play
screw.
Stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yeah.
Thing.
I mean, this guy thinks he can get away with that. You're going to get an ugly lesson. You can't. You can't. And I would say that, to be fair, I would say the same thing if it was a Republican. Somebody tried to throw the January 6th stuff in my face last night. And I said, everybody who was at the Capitol that day seems to have suffered severe consequences, even if they didn't do anything wrong. Even if they claim, and the videos seem to confirm, that they were just ushered into the Capitol and stayed inside the stanchions, they were treated like they were the same people who was hitting a cop with a stick. And those are different things. I think we should deal with them in a different way. And 4 years later, one of the problems I've got, Dan, is that I watched the violence in Richmond, and some of it I saw personally because I got in my car and drove down there to look at it. And I don't think people were punished for really atrocious behavior when it was BLM and Antifa in Richmond, Portland, Oregon, Washington, New York, Miami, Dallas, Los Angeles, all these people got away with it. So what, I'm suddenly supposed to be horrified and outraged that somebody spends 4 years languishing in a DC jail or, under threat of prosecution for 4 solid years, and Donald Trump finally says enough of this, when some people never suffered any consequences for what they did in 2020. Things I saw with my own eyes. And no one's ever been prosecuted for setting that building on fire, that museum and library on fire in Richmond. And somebody knows who did that. Come on. That was a big enough attack on that building where someone in Richmond would sing like a canary if you offered them 10 grand to say who set that building on fire. And there's got to be enough video where you could track it. But I think in Richmond, they didn't want to track it. They didn't want to go after these people. And the reason I bring that up is the lesson has been learned now. We're not serious. You get ticked off about something, you can go out and attack the cops. You can go out and burn a building. And especially if you're on the left side of the political spectrum, you're going to get away with it. Now, that's a dangerous place for us to be.
2 tiers. It just, different
two tiers justice system.
different rules for different, and it'd be one thing, I suppose, if I felt as though, and I speak from some experience here. It'd be one thing if I felt as though the actual rules applied to half the people. It's not just that, half the people can have the rules of polite society apply to them and half them don't. For people with the quote unquote right political views and identity politics, it might as well be the purge, as you were talking about the other day with Carl Leonard. It's just the rules of polite society don't apply whatsoever. There is no seeming rule that you can't break, but it's really crazy to watch it happen. Where if how am I going to say this? There's no politically correct way to say this. If you're a white male, you're guilty of the original sin of having been born, and if you are the opposite of that, there's no crime that's unforgivable.
Well, that is a provocative statement. I concede, but I think it is true in 2026. I think that is a true statement.
I can tell you it was true in 2016.
And the fact is that in previous generations, being a black male, a black man, was, you would be lynched, literally, and sometimes just not treated correctly by the system. What I don't understand, seriously, is for those of us who recognize those injustices from previous generations and previous decades, previous centuries, we recognize, acknowledge I'm not making excuses. I'm not ignoring it. I'm not whitewashing it. I recognize that there were abuses in the past.
Absolutely.
Why would you allow similar abuses to take place now? Are you getting revenge? If anything, all of us should double down on objective, honest commitment to the rule of law and blind justice instead of selective prosecution. And
to say nothing of malicious prosecution.
Malicious prosecution too. That's right.
Selective and then beyond that, malicious. Yeah.
Malicious prosecution. I don't want to come on and be unfair about it and just be a liberal whiner about things, but I have to tell you, I think if you step back and you look at patterns, you can clearly make the case that what you just said is true, that there is and the DEI movement is largely responsible for it, going after white men the way, not in the same way, I'm not saying it's the same way, but in a similar fashion or a parallel fashion to what used to happen with other minorities. And both of them are wrong. You shouldn't behave that way. And the system shouldn't work that way.
And now's not the time for specifics, but I have been on the receiving end of this, and I can tell you, as somebody who has been through this, that if you've been the victim of systematic injustice, the last thing you want is to see any other innocent person, no matter whether they're gay or straight, white or black, male or female. You do not want to see any other innocent person suffer that kind of injustice. And that's why I question people who are out there as these quote unquote social justice warriors saying that let's get Whitey or whatever else. It's like, you clearly have not really actually suffered any major injustice in your life, because if you had, you would be as opposed to that injustice as I am right now sitting where I sit.
Unless you think that you can get revenge on people, and then and there are plenty of people who think that way. And what you just said, get Whitey, I'm sure there's someone who's going to look at that and say, oh, well, that's not true. Hey, do a search of the internet. Do a search of the internet on a regular basis. And quite frankly, in the classrooms that your kids are being educated in, messages similar to that, maybe not with blunt language that's that crude, messages similar to that are routine in modern society. And you're blessed if you are not exposed to it. But I think anybody who works in a business environment recognizes there are things that you and I are not allowed to say. Hopefully, I wouldn't say them anyway, but we're not allowed to say because of the color of our skin and our gender that others would be allowed to say and would probably be applauded for. And I feel like that's not correct. The standard should be across the board.
And very quickly, let's just address the fraud that is quote unquote social justice. First of all, justice is social to begin with. So what the heck are you talking about? Justice is a social ethic. That's silly to add the words. Oh, I'm not talking about justice. I'm talking about social justice. Justice is social, dummy. But beyond that, it's
well,
the
I think
idea.
they're revealing that. I think when they talk about that, they're revealing. I want revenge.
They're not really for justice. It may not even be
revenge for them. It may be revenge because you sat in a classroom in high school and college and you were taught what a racist country America supposedly was, and now you feel like you can get ahead of somebody by seeking revenge today.
Well, sure.
And we've got to stop that.
And this leads us to the even more fundamental and basic point that if they were for justice, they'd just say they're for justice. This is not justice. This is injustice. Mm-hmm. And the idea of quote unquote social justice, what a fraud, is, oh, well, person A mistreated person B, but person C kind of looks like person A. So because person C kind of looks like person A and reminds us of person A, let's just go after person C. That is not justice. That is in no way, shape, or form justice. That is injustice, and shame on you if you're for it.
That couldn't agree more. Which brings us to this quote or this clip from the DA in Philadelphia, and we were going to play this yesterday, but we're about to run over where we're running over. But let's play the clip from the DA in Philadelphia. I think if you haven't seen this, and I don't think this has been played extensively on the national news, it's jaw-dropping to me. And everybody wants to weaponize history to achieve what they want to do today, and you got to be careful about that. Listen to this.
This is a small bunch of wannabe Nazis. That's what they are. In a country of 350 million, we outnumber them. If we have to hunt you down the way they hunted down Nazis for decades, we will find your identities, we will find you, we will achieve justice.
I mean, this DA, Larry Krasner in Philadelphia, do they ever pause and think about what they're saying? Because honestly, you're the district attorney in Philadelphia. Who's to say if that's your new standard that we're going to hunt you down over the decades and wreck your life, jail you, murder your family? Is that what he's saying? Because it sure sounds like it's a real threat, and it's not a legal threat. It's a kind of a mob mentality threat, right? We outnumber you. That's not about the law. That's not about you have broken the law, and whether it's one of us or a million of us, we are going to enforce the law. This sounds like we outnumber you. We will come after you. Who's to say that we don't do that to him? I mean, does he ever? You're a freaking elected official. You're the district attorney in Philadelphia. I got news for you, buddy. If this is the new standard, be careful. Because somebody could show up, a mob could show up at your house and decide that they're going to exact justice in their minds against you. This is not a commitment to law and order. This is the kind of garbage that Democrats are spewing regularly, which incites the mob to think whatever our emotions tell us is right. We have a green light to take action and harm other people because we think we're right. That's a very dangerous place for us to be.
How about that for Exhibit A for what we were just talking about 4 or 5 minutes ago? These are the people who are prosecuting people in this country. Think about that.
Not a commitment. People don't know you went to William and Mary Law?
Yes. Yeah, William and Mary Law. Yep. Graduated 20 years ago this year, actually. So
I'm always impressed by that. I mean, William and Mary. I've
Don't
got
be.
I've got tons of family members who went to William and Mary, and my grandmother was like the first president of the Alumni Association, first female president of the Alumni Association. But I am always shocked when I went to go speak to the Republican students at William and Mary. I swear to God, it was like I was going to a speakeasy in the 1920s. Park your car here, walk across the campus, go in the door, knock, and they'll look through the peephole, and you're the guest speaker, and you can come in, and then there are 20 kids who are all kind of scared because if their professor sees them, their career is over at William and Mary. I mean, I felt bad for them. Like, this is one of the great institutions of higher learning in America. It's one of the oldest schools in the United States, and conservative people, not radicals. I mean, I bet you if you had a communist meeting, it would have been on the lawn with a big red flag with a
in the sucking gardens. Come see us, everybody. Yeah,
but with the Republicans, the Republican students have got to kind of hide in the back and hope that nobody sees them. If that's not an indictment of the mindset on these campuses, and William and Mary in particular, I'm sad to say that. I mean, they've made a lot of bad decisions over the years, whether it's taking the cross off the altar in the Wren Chapel and pretending that it's some sort of local rec room instead of, the chapel where my grandparents were married. I mean, that offended me beyond belief, and that was over 20 years ago, 25, 30 years ago. So somebody needs to get a hold of these.
And I should say and clarify, I'm honored to be part of the William and Mary heritage and legacy, given who attended that school hundreds of years ago in particular.
But there's a problem now.
My comment is more about the nature of these institutions today and law school in particular,
I get it.
Which might as well be called anti-law school. They're not teaching reverence for the Constitution as written. They're basically teaching ways to cheat the system.
You really think that?
Law schools? Oh, absolutely. They're not teaching any sort of jurisprudence that is consistent with the founding of this country. Lawyers, law professors, students, they don't understand. I mean, really, the first thing about our system. It was depressing to be there. I mean, that was 20 years ago. Goodness knows what it's like now. But
if you're a first-year law student, it's not like The Paper Chase, that old TV show where it's really the fundamentals of American jurisprudence, the history.
Not really. And most law schools these days don't apply such a harsh courtroom-esque Socratic method anyway. It's more relaxed. I mean, professors will call on you and expect you to be able to brief a case or this, that, or the other. But yeah, it's not something like if you don't know what's happening or what's going on. It's like, do you realize, Mr. Hobgood, that you've just wasted every single person's time in this? That doesn't happen.
That show, I'm pulling a Dan, right? I'm bringing up a movie or a TV show as a reference point.
Scored by your boy, Johnny Williams, before he really hit it big. But yeah.
Are you
1973. Yeah, that was
he wrote the music for The Paper Chase?
He wrote the score for the movie The Paper Chase. And then John Houseman, of course, won the Oscar, I think, for Best Supporting Actor.
How very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I remember that show, and I remember thinking, I really don't want to be a lawyer because they seem so mean.
Nothing like very few movies. I mean, doctors will tell you this about TV shows or movies about being a doctor. Very few of these shows or movies accurately reflect the practice. The one, honestly, that I thought was the most symbolic or realistic of all things was Boston Legal, which was a farce. And that's like, yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. Well, that's like when I used to watch the TV show Veep. I kept thinking,
exactly.
Oh,
that's the one that people say is.
This is way too close to what I experienced in Washington. Yes. I'm not indicting my colleagues or anything.
And I've heard the same thing about Scrubs, Scrubs, the comedy show is the one that I've heard doctors say that's the one that's most like being a doctor. It's like, oh, isn't that interesting that I say Boston Legal, you say Veep, doctors say Scrubs, but it's all the ones that sort of make fun of.
You know what's sad about that? And maybe you feel this way about pursuing life as an attorney. I went to Washington to work in the Senate. And in my head, and I left a pretty good paying job in television here in Richmond to go do it because I thought I just don't want to read the teleprompter.
You have an MO, don't you?
Yeah, leave a good paying job with some idyllic concept of how I can help the world and then wind up getting screwed over in the end. But anyway, yeah, I left and went to go work in the Senate, and I thought I was going to be living the West Wing again. Reference, but I mean, it was for noble reasons.
Right.
And then I got there, and I was kind of horrified by. I mean, George Allen worked his butt off. I don't know what the rest of the senators do. I got to give that guy credit. Even if you don't like George Allen, he worked hard every single day.
Well, heck, even for his appearances with us, is always so prepared. And goodness knows, I had to mind my P's and Q's, make sure every I was dotted, T was crossed. If any little thing was wrong in any email that I sent out, he would catch it and call it out. And I was like, wow, okay, all right.
But the rest of these clowns, it was, I don't know. I mean, I kind of thought it would be serious policy discussions and. And to be honest, I didn't know I would work as hard as I did. But what I was working on was all kind of distraction, fake allegations from the press, not serious conversations about policy. And that was disturbing to me. Like, I came here to, quite frankly, to help solve the immigration issue, right? I thought that we could get that accomplished, and I could be a part of helping to solve the immigration crisis. And I wasn't the senator. I'm not confusing my role, but I thought that's the kind of stuff we were going to do. And instead, we were spinning our wheels dealing with BS stories from NBC News that were just garbage. And I thought, what am I? I'm spending years of my life. I'm working 18-hour days and stressed out beyond belief. And what are we actually accomplishing? And, the bad thing is once we lost – and George Allen wasn't in the Senate, I swear I should have gone to counseling about it. But I would lie in bed at night because Obamacare was passed. And I thought, if only we had won, and if only maybe I could have done something. It's one reason why I worked every single day when I was running for lieutenant governor, because I thought if only I had done this, or if only I had worked a little harder, or maybe we could have won, and then we could have saved America from this Obamacare disaster. And I guess I've let that go, but I guess the fact that I'm still talking about it indicates it's not completely off my mind. But this is serious stuff, and I feel like it becomes kind of a joke. It becomes like a sitcom for a lot of people. It's one reason. I don't know if people have noticed this. I'm sitting in this little office in my house, and I mean, it's just a tiny little office, but I put on this jacket. No one can see me. Alonzo just dropped off this coffee. No one can see me. I wear the jacket because I was kind of raised to think if you're going to talk to the public and you want people to take you seriously, you should behave seriously. And one of the ways you indicate that you're a serious person is that you wear the jacket. You dress like you're a serious person. You present yourself as a serious person. Doesn't mean everything has to be buttoned up and there's no joking or talking, but you present yourself as a serious person. That seems to have been lost. Everything is a joke. Everything is a sitcom. Everything is a sarcastic quip. And we're living in a luxurious time where you can live like that. I just think that's going to be our downfall. That everything's a joke. Nothing's serious.
Yeah, and I'm realizing as you're talking that I think the time that you were in Washington was the same time that I was in law school, sort of in that 2003 to 2006 range, probably.
Yeah, it was.
And similar to you. I mean, we had something at William & Mary called Bar Review on Thursday nights. So, Thursday night, there should be a bar review if they're still doing it tonight. And I sort of thought, we go out to these different bars around town and we have intellectual discussions about jurisprudence, about philosophy, about ideology, about the nature of our system. And no, it was just people just wanted to go out and just get sloppy drunk. And if I tried to raise any serious conversation or topic, I was like, Dan, shut up. We're just here to drink, Dan. Come on, Dan, shut up. And yeah, I was like, well,
Do you think it used to be bar review meant go and drink but talk about serious stuff? Was that, or are we fantasizing that that's what it used to be like?
I mean, I gotta believe that when Thomas Jefferson and John Marshall and those guys were out on the town in Williamsburg, that especially given when they would have been out on the town, that they would have been having some serious conversations about pressing social matters.
I mean, people always drink. They always chase women. They always do what they're going to do. But you shouldn't pretend like everybody's a saint just because it's 200 years ago. But I think you're probably right. I think people were more, in general, more serious than they are today, and they had to be to survive and to achieve. It is one thing, Lonzo, on our trip last week, he said something to me, and then we really got to go because we're way over. I'm sorry.
We're giving people bang for the buck.
Yeah. Well, maybe this could be like the extra after the show premium content.
That's right.
That everybody says we should do. But anyway, he said something, last year I didn't talk to anybody unless they were political. I mean, really, the whole year. I look 2025 from January 27th to November 4th and 5th election. It was all politics all the time. And Alonzo said, you have lost touch with what few friends you actually had, and you need to do something about it. And that's kind of ringing around in my head like, all right, I'm 55 years old. How do I meet and engage with serious people? Because after and military people have told me this when I worked for the veterans group. Once you've been to war, and I'm not comparing what I did to going to war, so please don't beat me up. I'm not saying they're the same thing. But I had a lot of military people say, once you have been in a war and you've seen people die, and the consequences of your decisions are so important to the survival of other people in that moment and beyond, it's really hard to go back and play video games and booze it up in some college town because you've just you're at a different place in your mind. And I don't know how we got into that, but anyway, we probably got to go, don't we?
We probably should.
Yes. All right. Hey,
we've just done our longest show ever.
We could, on a podcast, we can do this.
That's true.
At WRVA, we could never have done this at the TV
We'd be meeting our boss afterward for a stern talking to. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Not to say that I didn't try to do this, but 2 hours and 16 minutes into it. Come on. All right. Hey, producer Dan, I appreciate it very much.
Sure.
I hope you will give us a big thumbs up, like us on social media if you're watching us on Facebook or Twitter or one of the other social media platforms. If you're listening as a podcast on Apple or Spotify, spread the word. It's the Reid Revolution. Back tomorrow morning to wrap up the week. Have a great Thursday.